Hi everyone, and welcome to this comfy guide on how to install PeerTube, your very own self-hosted YouTube alternative that can also federate with other PeerTube instances to create a giant distributed video network. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install it using the official documentation, which I'm going to link in the description, on a Debian 12 server. In addition to the server that I've SSH'd into, I've also set up a domain which you're going to need to run this, which in this case is videos.denshi.org. Alright, so to begin with, we need to install all the dependencies that PeerTube needs, which you can find in the dependencies guide. So I'm going to go down to the Debian Ubuntu section, and first of all, you just have this command over here to install the basic utilities. I'm going to just copy paste this. I already have all these, but just in case I haven't installed those, or as it says, if you're on a fresh install, you need all those. Then we have to install Node.js. So following this link is actually not the right way. You have to go to a different website called nodesource.com. I'll have this linked in the description, but essentially you go to this website and disable this annoying little chat bot, scroll down and go to this section to select the runtime. I'm going to select Node.js, which is what we want. I'm going to change the distribution to Debian. I'm going to pick Debian 12 in this case, which is what we want. And the version we want is 20. That's for the current version of PeerTube. It shouldn't give you any problems if you have a newer version, but I'm going to pick 20 just to be sure. So I'm going to click on this over here. It's giving me this little code that I can copy paste. I've already clicked it, so it's copied. I'm going to paste it into my SSH terminal. Alright, and now that it's installed, I can run node-v, and as you can see, it's version 20.19.4, so we've successfully installed the Node version we want. With that done, we can install Yarn, another really important program, by clicking the following link. We're going to be installing a version of Yarn that's older than 2.0, so we can ignore this little warning over here, although this might change for new versions of PeerTube. Anyways, going down here, it's pretty simple. We just have to run npm, which is the Node package manager, install -- global yarn, just like that. It's going to do the little thing. As you can see, it's giving us a little notice to update. I guess we can do that, npm install -g and then npm at 11.5.2 if it really wants us to do that. And there you go. As you can see, we've updated npm as well, but the main thing we want to check is that if we run yarn -- version, we do get something. Yeah, as you can see, we get 1.22.22, which is exactly what we want. Alright, with the Yarn installed, we can now install Python, which it's another copy-paste job. We can just copy this, paste it in, and as you can see, it basically does everything for us. I'm going to press enter over here, and as you can see, we have Python 3.11.2, which is newer than 3.8, even though it's a little confusing, but it is. And finally, we have all the other common dependencies. So in this case, it's going to be stuff like Nginx, certbot, ffmpeg, PostgreSQL, all that stuff. Now, I'm going to copy-paste this part of the command, but I will change some stuff. I'm going to go up here, and instead of installing certbot and Nginx separately, I'm going to install Python 3-certbot-nginx, which is the unified package which lets you use certbot with Nginx integration. Now that basically allows us to generate certificates for our websites if you need it. I already have this installed on the system, but just in case, I'm going to make this a little faster. And also we can add -y to automatically confirm installations. So I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, it's just going to start installing all these dependencies, including apparently you need a compiler to run this. I'm not quite sure why you need that, but yeah, all these libraries and stuff, and most importantly PostgreSQL and Redis, which are for the database and caching. Alright, so this should have automatically started the databases and everything. As you can see, it's even created a symlink to start them automatically over here, but just to make sure, I'm going to do systemctl restart Redis and PostgreSQL, and I'm also going to do, after that's done, systemctl enable Redis and PostgreSQL, or not Resis, but Redis. There you go. So, oh yeah, Redis is in a service. I guess it would be enable Redis server, maybe? Yeah, there you go. So this is just making sure that those are running on boot every single time we restart our server. Alright, with all of that taken care of, we can go back to the main installation, which is over here on the NEOS section. To begin with, it wants us to create a PeerTube user, another copy-paste job, so I'm just basically going to copy this into here and press enter, and this has created a user called PeerTube, and this user is going to run all the services which we need for PeerTube. I'm going to create a password for PeerTube. I'm going to do password PeerTube, and I don't know, I'm going to set it to something secure probably. Just make sure that if you do have SSH access on your server, nobody's able to log into it, It wants us to make sure the PeerTube directory is traversable by Nginx, so I'm going to run this command, and as you can see, it's the same. It matches the permissions, which means that this directory can be scanned by our web server, and our web server is going to be able to present all the web page stuff for PeerTube, and we can ignore the FreeBSD section since we're not installing this on FreeBSD. All right, now we have to install the database, which is a really important step. I'm going to go into the var www PeerTube directory, which is where all of our relevant PeerTube files will be, and I'm going to copy this command over here to run a command as the Postgres user to create a user called PeerTube. I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, it prompts me for a password. Now, you don't have to set a super secure password for your database unless your database is publicly accessible, like you're exposing it on a port. In my case, I'm not doing that. It's only accessible from within my server, so it's not super important. I'm going to set it to 1234, but at least for full disclosure, I will change it later when I actually put this website into production, just to be super sure. But it doesn't really change anything unless there's some kind of freak accident and by accident you expose your database. This next command is going to create a database called PeerTube_prod or PeerTube production, where all the relevant PeerTube information is going to be stored. It's another copy paste job, so I'm going to copy and paste it and run it, and as you can see, there's no errors. And then there's two more commands. These are just like special extensions it needs for running the database. Now here you have like some kind of mega command which will automatically get the latest version of PeerTube for us and set a relevant variable for it. So I'm going to copy it and make sure that it gives us the right thing. I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, the latest PeerTube version is 7.2.3. That sounds about right to me. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which is creating all the basic things that we need, all the basic directories. So this command is going to create three main folders: config, storage, and versions. So if we list our directory now, we have config, storage, and versions. We're going to mostly be working in the config folder to enter all of our database information and any extra stuff that we want to change about our PeerTube instance. And then this command is going to automatically install the latest version of PeerTube and unzip it. So I'm going to copy it and run it, and it should do everything for us as long as we have access to the GitHub repository. Now, one thing I don't like about this command is they put -q over here on the wget and unzip commands, so it doesn't spit anything out into your terminal, but it also means you don't get to see the progress of the download. So if you want to see how the download's actually going, you can remove the -q from the wget command and the unzip command to see how fast it's downloading and unzipping. Alright, so as you can see, it's done, and now we can go back to the var www PeerTube directory, and then we can run this command, which is going to link the current version of PeerTube, which is listed in versions, and link it to PeerTube-latest, which is going to put it into production. It's going to make it so that's the version we're using. So if you run this command, it's going to link it, and it's going to start installing all the packages that we need to run PeerTube. Now, sometimes this can take a while, and most importantly, this is going to take quite a bit of storage. I should have probably mentioned this earlier in the video, but if you're running a PeerTube instance, you definitely want a lot of storage for videos, but also for the program itself, because it is actually quite big. Alright, so it's done installing. Let's check how big it is out of curiosity. I'm going to go back, I'm going to do du-h var www PeerTube. It's going to list all the files, and at the end it's going to say the directory. Alright, so it's 3.7 gigabytes, with 2.1 gigabytes being cache or cache, or however you want to pronounce that. But yeah, it's a pretty big program, out of the box. Alright, so now that we've actually installed PeerTube, let's configure it. I'm going to copy paste this little command over here since it does it as the PeerTube user to make sure we're not messing with any permissions. And then what I'm going to do is actually copy the production configuration, which is what we're going to go through and edit. So running this command, which copies the example to the actual one. Alright, with that done, I'm going to use my favorite text editor, Vim, to edit the config production.yaml file. Alright, now that we're in here, we can go and start customizing everything that we see. So to begin with, I'm not going to change anything in listen, hostname, and port, since this is just for running on the local server, and we're going to go and forward our PeerTube to Nginx, which is going to be essentially where everything is going to be presented through the web server, so we can access it on the web. Then over here, I will go through and change the URL of our PeerTube instance. So I'm going to change this to videos video.denshi.org, just like that. All right, next we have the secrets section. So these secrets have to be generated manually. You can't go through and have it generate them for you. I'm not going to do this on camera, but essentially what you want to do is run this exact command, OpenSSL rand for random-hex32, which is going to, as the name implies, generate a random 32 character hex string. So OpenSSL rand-hex32, and yeah, there you go. So you would do this and then copy paste this into it. I'm not going to do this on camera because these secrets can compromise the security of your website if somebody gains access to them, and I actually want to use this website, but I will do this so I can have these. If you don't do this, it's not going to work properly. Now here's the important part, the database section. So over here, we want to make sure we set everything securely. So it already has all the basic stuff. So suffix is the database, so we have peertube_prod, so the way that we've set it up is correct. And I'm going to make sure our password is set to what we set, which was 1234, just like that. Finally, we have the Redis settings. I'm not going to go through and customize too much here since I haven't set a password or anything like that on Redis, but if you have, I believe you can go and customize that here. You can set up a email server if you want. So in my case, I actually will, and I'm just going to make it, I'm probably just going to call it maybe like noreply@denshi.org, and I'm going to set up all the relevant authentication here when I need to. I'm not going to do this on camera, but if you do have access to an email server and you've created an email that can send emails for you, PeerTube will be able to use that to do stuff like verify emails, create accounts, recover passwords, all the relevant stuff you'd expect a website to be able to do. So that's a really useful feature. You can also change the email over here, so PeerTube, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to change it to videos.denshi.org since I want it to be a little bit customized, but of course you can set it to whatever you want. And finally, all the way at the admin section, you want to make sure you set up an admin email. In my case, I'm going to set my email, which is alex@denshi.org. But yeah, you just got to make sure you set that correctly so you can log into your account. And this, of course, would be the administrator account. Now, there's other stuff you can fill in here. As you can see, there's a ton of stuff, but most of this stuff can also be changed from within the PeerTube interface itself, which means you don't necessarily have to change it here. It is useful to look at this here, though, if you want to change it before you even create your server. Alright, with all that done and having inserted the secret into the configuration, don't forget to do that, we can then move on to setting up the web server, which is a very important step so we can actually access our PeerTube instance. You can copy paste this, which will set up the basic configuration, and this will send it to sites available. We're then going to link it to sites enabled, which will make our website public on our server's web server. Now, you have to run these two sed commands, which are going to essentially allow you to set your domain. So I'm going to copy paste them. Actually, I'm going to copy paste them individually. Let's do that. So I'm going to copy the first one, and I'm going to go up all the way to where it says PeerTube domain. I'm going to remove the square brackets and change it to videos.denshi.org. Make sure you change that to your domain, and then press enter, and then let's check the file to make sure everything is good. So I'm going to do vim and then Etsy, Nginx sites available PeerTube, and as you can see, server name says videos.denshi.org. So make sure that that does check out. The next one is obviously going to be the PeerTube host. In this case, you can just copy paste this since we're running it on the port 9000 and none of that has changed. We haven't changed it in the configuration, so we can keep that as it is and press enter. All right, with that said, we can now link the file to the production. So I'm going to do ln-s Etsy Nginx sites available PeerTube to Etsy Nginx sites enabled, and press enter. And if you list Etsy Nginx sites enabled, as you can see, I have my hidden services and other stuff that I run, but there's PeerTube over there. Perfect. All right, now is the important part, generating the certificate and restarting Nginx. So now I'm going to copy paste this command over here. It's going to ask me for an email. You don't actually have to give them your real email unless you want notifications on stuff. I'm going to just do like billy@, I don't know, folly.org or something. And then I'm going to agree to the terms by typing Y. I'm going to say no, I definitely don't want to. If Billy is real, I don't want to send him EFF news. And the domain in this case is going to be videos.denshi.org, and I'm going to press enter. It's going to start requesting the certificate. All right, and as you can see, it has obtained it. It's put it in the relevant directory, and we can now move on to the next step. I'm going to go through and modify the renewal configuration to be in line with the PeerTube Nginx configuration. Essentially, all you have to do is do vim or whatever text editor you want to use, Etsy, let's encrypt renewal, and then it's going to be videos.denshi.org.conf in my case. And I'm going to go down down to where it says Authenticator and change it to WebRoot. So I'm going to change it from standalone to WebRoot, since the Nginx server can take care of it for us. We don't actually have to go through and run the certbot by itself again. I'm going to skip the TCP/IP tuning since I don't believe it's a relevant feature on Debian 12. I will experiment with this later, but it shouldn't really be a huge problem if you have a newer Debian version. Then we can move on to the main part, which is actually running PeerTube itself. So systemd, we're going to copy paste the systemd configuration by just running this command, and then we're going to go into vim etc systemd system and then peertube.service to double check that everything looks right. As you can see, everything looks pretty good. It's running in the right directory, it's using the right user, so everything looks good. I'm going to write and quit. We're going to reload our daemon configuration, so systemctl daemon reload, and then we're going to do systemctl enable -- now PeerTube, which is going to start PeerTube for us. And with PeerTube started, we're going to do journal ctl-feu PeerTube to double check that everything is going fine. Alright, so as you can see, it seems to have started pretty well. I was kind of messing around with it earlier, but it started all fine, and now we can go obtain our password so we can actually log in. We can run this command to get the reset password, so I'm going to run this and press enter. I'm going to put a password in. It has to be 6 characters or more. I'm going to do 1 2 3 4 5 6, just like that. Obviously, that's not the password you actually want to use in reality, but it's just what I'm going to use in this case. And now we should be able to go to videos.denshi.org and start the setup. So I'm going to go to videos.denshi.org in my browser, and as you can see, it's opened me to the PeerTube page. I'm going to go log in. I'm going to zoom this in for a little bit, but I've gone to the login page, and what we can do is we can type our administrator email, which in this case is alex@denshi.org, and the password, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6, and log in. Now, as you can see, it's giving us this little prompt. Welcome to PeerTube, dear administrator, and we can go through the documentation. It's giving us useful links and all that other stuff. I'm going to go through and start configuring my instance, so I'm going to click configure my instance. It begins by letting us write a home page. I'm just going to write welcome to Denshi's video or Denshi's PeerTube. I will be hosting all of my videos here, just like that. And you can do show preview, it's going to show you the preview. You can even, write markdown in here. So I'm going to do hashtag welcome, just like that. I'm going to click update configuration, and this is going to go through and change the file as well. You can do other stuff like set an icon, change the name of the instance. I'm going to do it. I'm going to set it to, Denshi's PeerTube. Maybe that's a good idea. I'm going to do Denshi's personal PeerTube instance. Just like that. It's got a description, you can add categories, all this other kind of stuff, social links, blue sky link, external link. I guess I'll put denshi.org over here, that's probably good. And yeah, you got all this other stuff that you can change, and click update configuration. So the main stuff you want to go through, obviously there's theme. The main section here is the admin email, so if you ever change the email of the admin, just make sure that you do change it over here. You can also set up automatic following back for other instances, meaning that you'll be able to see if anybody follows you on PeerTube, like another PeerTube website, you're going to be able to see all of their videos on your instance. This functionality requires a lot of attention, as it says, so I'm not going to enable it, and I'm also not going to enable automatic following since I don't really want that. But yeah, the really important one here is allowing import with URL and also channel synchronization. I'm going to tick this, and I'm going to tick allow channel synchronization. This is going to allow users to essentially create mirrors of YouTube channels on here, which I'm going to do with my own channel. You can also change the concurrency of jobs. Now in my case, I have a 4-core CPU on my server, so I'm going to set this to 4, although I'm sure there's probably a section out there on how much you should set this depending on your CPU that's a little bit more detailed. This is just a very basic type of configuration. You can enable signing up of new users. In my case, I might do this at some point, but in the meantime, I'm going to leave it off. If you do set it up, it has like an age limit and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to update the configuration, and I'm going to move on to the VOD transcoding section. So let's see, estimating a server's capacity isn't easy. However, you can read our guidelines. Yeah, probably should go through and do that. So this essentially dictates how it should transcode videos, which takes a lot of CPU power. You can also enable live streaming if you want. I'm not going to do it in this case, but if you really want to, you can. And then you can change the cache for all the various things. Once again, this is an advanced feature if you want to go through and customize this, but I'm not going to do that. There's also CSS customizations, like, I don't know, if you want to change the brown color, I guess, but I'm also not going to do that. All right, then we have federation. So over here, you can follow instances. So if there's another PeerTube that you really like and you want to go and add all of your videos to yours, you can definitely do that. And they can also follow you. You can also configure something called video redundancies, which allow you to duplicate either your videos on other instances or other instances' videos on yours, which means that they can't be lost if, say, that instance gets destroyed or something. Also, I currently have no followers, but I anticipate that since mine enables that, I probably will get some soon with random crawlers and people like that going around. Now we have plugin themes. As you can see, you can search for a lot of them. Live chat is probably the most popular one, that makes sense. And there's a bunch of other ones that you can install. So yeah, if you ever want any of those, you can easily get them. And finally, there's system. This is just logs of things that are going on your system if you ever need to debug anything. So there you go, here's the logs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can go through and debug if needed. All right, let's actually set up a channel now, something that we can actually use. I'm gonna go and click on channels. So I've already been given a channel called main root channel. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new channel. In my case, I'm just gonna call it Denshi, or Denshi, just like that, that's fine. The display name is gonna be Denshi Video, and the description, I'm gonna fill this in later, but I'm just gonna put the same for my channel. I'm gonna go and upload all the metadata stuff, like the image and the banner. All right, with that done, I can go and click create your channel, and as you can see, here we have it. I'm gonna delete the main root channel since we don't really need that anymore. root_channel, I'm gonna type that in to confirm, and then what we can do is do synchronizations. So I'm gonna click add synchronization, and I'm gonna put my channel in here, which in this case is gonna be youtube.com/@Denshi, and I'm gonna pick Denshi Video as a synchronization channel. I'm gonna do import all and watch for new publications and click create. All right, so as you can see, it's processing, which means it's gonna begin downloading every last video on my channel and dump it onto this PeerTube channel. So here, if you already have a YouTube channel, you can easily synchronize it across. Now, if we go back to channels and click on it, as you can see, it's showing up. Here we go. I've successfully set up a PeerTube server with a functioning channel. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to set up your very own PeerTube server. I've been Denshi, and goodbye.